Welcome to Penny for Your Shots, Conversations and Cocktails with Brilliant Women, the podcast where we uncork the stories and insights of exceptional female leaders from all walks of life. Our goal is to serve up wisdom, tips, and inspiration, and to support each other in rediscovering ourselves and what sets our souls on fire. We'll also share personal memories, paired with friends and a favorite beverage. I'm your host, Penny Fitzgerald, and I believe that the best stories are served up over a glass of wine or a cocktail. So grab a glass, get comfy, and let's pour ourselves into Penny for Your Shots. By the time this episode airs, today's guest will be back home in California. When we spoke, Joanna Giangardella was in Greece at her family's vineyard and olive orchard overlooking the Aegean Sea. It's for sale, by the way. Joanna's story is fascinating. She's been through a lot, including childhood trauma, born of war, and thriving after cancer. Through it all, she demonstrates courage, resilience, and hope. She's written several books and is in the process of writing another. You can find her books on Amazon, and I'll post the link to find those in my show notes. She also teaches others how to eat more cleanly, including offering a garden tower that allows you to grow your own fruits, vegetables, and herbs in small spaces. I'll share a link to that in the show notes as well. I hope you find her story uplifting, and if you're in a struggle of your own, that it brings you hope. Here is Joanna Giangardella.
Hi, Penny.
Joanna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Good. Oh my gosh, it looks so beautiful. You have a nice breeze coming in.
I do. I don't know whether I should have another background. It's up to you.
Oh no, that's beautiful. Yeah, because I'll put this on YouTube as well and let people know you're in Greece right now, right?
I am.
I love it. How long have you been there?
Uh, let's see. 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Lovely.
Almost 3 weeks. I have another week left.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. And how's your family?
Good. Everybody's good. It's different this year because we usually gather, the whole family gathers here, but my brother-in-law is not well.
Mm.
And so my sister and my brother-in-law are not here. And that's a little different, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear
It's a,
that.
it's a little different because we work the vineyard together and we're all together. My brother lives here, so, that's not a problem. But I see my sister, once a year here.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
She's not able to come.
Oh, so sorry to hear that. It's difficult when our family is not doing as well as we'd like.
Yeah, it's difficult, but I'm praying that he will recover soon and get back on his feet.
Good. Good, good.
Yeah,
So backing up for my people who are listening, you grew up in Greece, right?
I was born in Greece and I left Greece when I was about 9.5 years old.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And your family owns a vineyard there, a vineyard and olive trees, a grove, and up overlooking the sea.
Yes, it's about 10 acres.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1,000 vines and about 160 olive trees and a lot of fruit trees and so forth. It is for sale now, so we're actually selling it. It just comes a time when the kids don't want to work it,
Mm-hmm.
and the old folks, it's time for them to retire off of it.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, it was a little emotional because for many, many years we gather in September for not the olive harvest, that's in November, but the wine harvest. It's always in September, the beginning of September, and something the family does together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful piece of property on a hill overlooking the Aegean Sea. So it's beautiful, but it's not for everybody. It's it's work. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just not just play, it's work. It's,
Absolutely.
you know, tending the vines and during their dormant period, there is nothing you can do, but this time of year in the summer and September, and then making the wine, you know, the process of making wine and so forth. It's interesting.
I think most of my listeners like wine for sure.
Oh, good.
And yeah, yeah, absolutely. And many of them may be in the industry because I have a lot of people that I'm friends with who know the process anyway, know that it does take work to tend those vines and to pick and harvest. And yeah, the winemaking process, all of it is a lot of work, but it's a labor of love.
It is a labor of love and it's a family, you
Hmm.
know, endeavor. And our wine is special only because we don't use any sulfites. So we don't use preservatives. It doesn't
Hmm.
last long as wines that are made with preservatives. So there are people who like wine, like drinking wine, but are very sensitive or have an allergy reaction to sulfites. So looking for the right type of wine for people like that is difficult to find really good wine. And our wine is red and it tends to be more of a blend, but it leans towards a Zin
Okay.
taste.
Zinfandel. And then you mentioned, I think you have Sangiovese as well, correct?
Sangiovese, so it is a blend,
Hmm.
but it tends, as far as the taste, tends to lean a little bit more
Okay.
like a Zin.
More rich and round and
Mm.
uh, big, bold flavors.
And most Greeks like sweet wine. It's not sweet, but it's not real dry either. But it's, you
Hmm.
know, so yeah.
Yeah, I can almost taste it. And you're so we have a bit of a time difference here. So I'm in Iowa, you're in Greece. So you said it's afternoon, right? It's 5 p.m. your time,
It's 5 p.m.
9 a.m. here. But happy hour for you and mimosa
It's
time for me.
yeah, I love that.
Yes. Oh, wow. Well, how fun. I'm happy to see you. I'm grateful that you dialed in all the way from Greece while you're on your family trip.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your journey because you mentioned to me you've written a couple of different books, several books, and one of them deals with how you made it from Greece to the United States. And it wasn't really something that's, are you comfortable talking about that?
Oh, sure. I mean, I've written a book and I'm an artist, so I sort of put my whole feeling and my whole experience on
Yeah.
canvas. But yes, I've written two books about that. It's The Girl from the Tower, Journey of Lies. And the first one was really a labor of love because it's, you know, I had a traumatic experience as a child. Um, I don't know a lot of people know about the Greek Civil War, but the Greek Civil War came after World War Two. And so after that came the Greek Civil War, where, you know, families were conflicted because just to kind of go into a little bit of a detail. So during World War II, Germans occupied Greece.
Mm.
They came in and unfortunately there was a large population of Jews in northern Greece, Thessaloniki especially. And when they occupied Greece, they did the same thing they did in a lot of Poland and so forth. They took the Jews out of Greece. And so the Americans and the English and so forth were trying to fight together with what they call the Andartes, which is kind of mountain guerrillas. So they're rebels that were
Okay.
fighting to get the Germans out of Greece. So together with the English and the Americans, they were fighting together with the Greek government at the time. It was a monarchy government to push and run the Germans out of Greece, which they did. So after that, and the rebels asked them, the English and specifically in the Americans and other countries, now will you help us run the monarchs out of Greece?
Oh.
And they said, they wanted to get that government out of Greece. And they said, no, we can't do that. We're done here. So they went to Stalin
Mm.
for help. So now you've got an infrastructure of the communists coming into Greece, supporting the rebels and fighting the government, fighting the Greek government, the monarchy at that time. So it drove people against each other.
Mm.
And the Civil War was from the end of the World War II, 1945 to 1949, where the rebels were then pushed out of Greece. Now you're talking about a mixture, but predominantly Greek men and women that were fighting. They were pushed out of Greece, run out of Greece and into the nearby countries like Bulgaria, Yugoslavia at the time, Romania, Armenia. They were pushed out into the nearby countries because they would have been shot. They would have been imprisoned or shot. My father, brother, younger brother, who is a university student, was one of those rebels.
Oh, wow.
So, because of that, the military here that defended the government here at the time took my father and imprisoned him and tortured him to try to get information about his brother. Well, he didn't know where his brother was. They didn't have any contact. But my father suffered from that and he became very ill. So when they let him out of prison, he was very, very sick. He had what was an ulcer, a stomach ulcer that went to a bleeding ulcer that went into cancer of the stomach. So my father passed away at 36 years old.
Oh, my
So now my
goodness.
mother has three children. I'm the youngest. My sister is the oldest, my sister, my brother, and myself. And there was um, a kind of a program that came out of this after the war, Civil War ended, that it was sponsored by ISS, which is International Social Services. The problem with that program is it was corrupt. And what they were doing is they were going in to orphanages and getting children and getting them adopted into the US, America. And Queen Frederica at the time was behind it also. So they were sending a lot of these children to Jewish families. She was trying to compensate or say, I'm sorry about what happened to the Jewish people in Thessaloniki. I didn't protect them enough or whatever it was. And so this is my way of giving back. It was corrupt in the sense that they were literally black marketing children from Greece into the US and putting
Mhm.
them in families. Now, they also went for children, let's just say from babies to 10 years old, no older than 10 years old. So they came to my mother. My mother is now a widow. She has 3 children. She's a highly educated, self-educated woman. She was a wonderful, wonderful person, and she wanted the best for her children.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they came to her and said, we can take your youngest, which is me,
Mm-hmm.
and send her to America to live with a family. She can have education, can have, have to worry about food and clothing, and you will always know where she is, and you can communicate via, mail and all, and if she's unhappy, if she's not comfortable or unhappy there, she can come back. You will not lose touch with your daughter.
Hmm.
The first time they came to my mother, she said, no. My sister was older. She was in high school. My brother was also, and so they came to her again. And this time, she felt maybe she didn't want to have any regrets, that I might have, find a better life. But as long as she knew where I was, then she said, okay,
Wow.
she
Yeah.
said, okay, as long as I know where she is, how she is, what she's doing, how she's doing
Mm-hmm.
in school, and so forth. But the moment I left my mother's side,
Mm-hmm.
that was it. All communications were gone,
Oh
severed.
no.
My mother had, I mean, after we split up in Thessaloniki with a social worker, then she decided, no, I'm not doing the right thing. This is not comfortable for me. Went back to the office and the office was closed. Called the office and the office phone was closed. Everything was shut down.
Oh no.
So I left. So they prepared me and I left and I went to live with a couple in Los Angeles. Why I say an older couple? I say an older couple because they were in their 50s. They were in the late 50s. They couldn't have children. He was an OBGYN, a doctor at a local hospital, and she was a surgical nurse. And they had adopted a boy from an orphanage that was a year older than myself. And they adopted him a year before. So that program,
Mm-hmm.
that ISS went to them and said, would you like another child? Would you like to have a girl? So then they said yes. So
Wow.
there I went. So
And your mother she had no idea where you were.
no,
Wow.
no, she didn't know where I was. I didn't know where she was. She
Mm-hmm.
embedded in me, where I come from. This is, don't forget your
Mm-hmm.
mother's name, your father's name, your sister's name, your brother's name, the name of the village. You don't forget that. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I never forgot that. So when I went to live with the couple, between them, they spoke 7 languages. He was originally from Bulgaria and she was from Russia.
Oh wow.
And they met at a medical university in Switzerland and got married and went to the States. But she was a raging alcoholic. Maybe that's not the right word. She was a really bad alcoholic.
Okay.
So my life there was very, very hard,
Mm.
very difficult. And it took me a long time for me to talk about it.
I can see why. That's a lot of trauma and at a really young age.
And even now, I
Yeah.
have a hard
Oh.
time talking about it. So, yeah, so it was very difficult. She died of cirrhosis of the liver when I was 14.
Oh my goodness.
And, but she was, she started drinking in the morning and there was a lot of abuse. incredible amount of abuse. So moving forward, getting past this, I got married when I was 18, barely 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
Get me out of here, right?
yes, and I finished high school
Mm-hmm.
and went to technical school, went to cosmetology school and became a hairstylist. And by 23, I owned my first hair salon and I had a client. And I was telling her my story and I was telling her that I wrote to the Red Cross, I wrote to UNICEF, somebody out there can help me. Somebody can help me find my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And she said to me, she said, why don't you write to the church of the village? Write to the church.
What a great idea. They would know
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah. She says, I have a cousin who was looking for blah, blah, blah in Russia and wrote to the church and found distant family. So
Huh.
I said, well, it's a great idea. Well, by that time, he had passed away as well.
Oh,
And so with
the
that,
US father.
yes, my US father passed away. And I received a document which was like an adoption papers, not a
Mm.
birth certificate, but it's kind of like a birth certificate because that's all I had really.
Mm-hmm.
And where I came from, the village, the name of the village did not resonate with me. It wasn't clear in my mind. It wasn't what I remember. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it happened to be the village, one village or the two villages over from where I was born, where my father was from,
Oh, uh-huh.
and all his family, my aunts and uncles and so forth, were from.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do I have to lose, right? And I just wrote a letter to the Greek Orthodox Church of that village. Well, I had aunts there, I had uncles there, I had cousins there. So when the priest received the letter, and the last name was Metropoula, which was my Greek name, was my family name, my father's name, he gave it to my aunt.
Oh,
And my aunt
you're
then
getting somewhere.
found my brother, and my brother then went to my mother. And at 25 years old, I was reunited with my mother
Oh, so like 15-ish years later.
15 years later.
Wow. Oh, I've got
So,
goosebumps.
so I wrote the book because I wanted others like me to know and understand and maybe help some to find their biological families because there were thousands of us between 1955 and 1957. That program, of course, they shut it down in 1957 after they found that people were dealing with money, grabbing children here and there, and so forth. So they closed the books on that and closed the files on that.
Mm-hmm.
And a little by little, I found more and more information about that whole program. And I did write a letter to ISS in Geneva. It's out of Geneva. And they sent me all my documents, my whole file,
They had it.
and my whole
Good.
file. So
Wow.
they sent my whole file to me. So, it's like a pieces in the puzzle. It just all
Mm-hmm.
comes together. And being reunited with my mother and my sister and my brother is a, an absolute gift and miracle for me. And I'm so, so, so grateful. I'm also on Facebook with a whole group of us
Mm.
that were adopted that time period and under those circumstances. And, I'm trying to help people along the way as I can. And I think my story, coming out with my story, has helped some people try to find their biological parents or family through the church, because the Greek Orthodox Church here in Greece is, how do you say it? It's like the bread on the family table, you know. It is, or the wine in the family table, as you say. It is everything, you know, it is
Yeah.
everything. The life revolves and lives here in Greece around the church.
Wow.
So um that was why because it was difficult writing the story, you know,
I'm
because I wanted to be
sure.
honest and true and talk about my whole journey. So it was a difficult thing. And then, of course, after that, people were saying, they were asking a lot of questions about, well, what about your mother here? What about your brother here? What about your sister here? Blah, blah, blah. And you need to write a sequel. Well, I really didn't want to write a sequel,
Hmm.
but I wrote a second edition to The Girl from the Tower and added all those questions. I answered all those questions that people throughout, you know, reading my book and so forth has reached out to me. I answered all the questions in that second edition of the
Okay.
book, Girl from the Tower.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'll certainly include the links to your books in our show notes and on social media so people can find you easier. That's just, I'm sure you helped so many people not only find their biological siblings and parents, but also just to process the whole thing, like how you were separated from your family and the circumstances and how you ended up where you know, in Los Angeles. It's just heartbreaking, but also like these adults are exchanging money and making the decisions for families on what's best. And it's heartbreaking to hear it.
They're vulnerable. The families were, it was after the war. They
Absolutely.
didn't have food. I remember standing in milk lines
Hmm.
where, you know, you go up there and you get your milk and, you know, your tin cup and
Yeah.
milk and bread and so forth. And my mother was trying to, you know, sort of reinvent herself. And she started working for an Australian author, lady who resided here in the village. And she started the carpet making that she is very well known for. So an icon painter. I mean, she became an entrepreneur and the struggles and so forth. That went on at that time, people were struggling. So, you know, it's like,
It's an impossible decision to make, an impossible choice.
yeah, I just think sometimes it's like predators. Maybe that's too harsh a word, but just
I
looking,
can see that. Yep. Yep. Looking for an opportunity to swoop in.
looking, yeah,
Hmm. And not to help someone, but to help themselves.
yes.
It's evil.
But it was quite a reunion. I
Mm.
mean, you know, it's, you know, as if there are mothers out there and fathers out there, you can feel what might happen when you lose a child
Hmm.
for different circumstances. And my mother felt she lost a child because of her decision,
Oh,
not
she
because
must have,
of anything else. So,
what she must have felt, what she must have gone through when she realized she couldn't contact you. Oh my God. I can't even imagine.
so, so the books are, it was good for me. It was very cathartic for me, you
Hmm.
know, to get it out. And and I have to commend my one of my art teachers. I did a creating writing class in college because I was looking to get my fine arts degree, which I did. And, you know, he said, write something about your story, you know, write something
Uh-huh.
about your past or write something you've experienced. And I wrote a short story and he was the one that said, you gotta write a book. You gotta continue with this. And it took years and years and years later to do it.
Yeah,
But
that's wonderful. I'm so glad you did. And I'm certain it helps others as well.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us about your other book. Are you, can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yes, it would have been 18 years ago now. I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and it was a very aggressive form of cancer. It was within 4 weeks, you see me like you see me now, and in 4 weeks, I was on fentanyl and in a wheelchair. It was very, very aggressive. So they treated me very aggressively, but I recovered very quickly. And I recovered because I have the will, obviously, and the strength behind me. But I looked at every possible thing that I could do for myself to recover or help in the recovery process. And I started juicing and I started taking these supplements, these food supplements that were recommended to me by my oncologist. And percent, she said 80% of our patients are on it. So I went full board with it. And I went in, they set me up for 12 chemotherapy treatments, but I went into remission after only 3. So, along the way, I wanted to write the book because I wanted to give people hope. Because you have stage 4 cancer doesn't mean it's a death sentence. And a lot of times people think that they are at
Mhm.
their end. It's, what their mind thinks the body will follow,
Yeah.
correct?
It's what you've heard and what you believe. And yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, you can make things happen. And I wanted to give people hope is why I wanted to write the book. So I wrote my whole journey from front to back. And there was some hiccups along the way because they wanted me to have stem cell transplant using my own stem cells, which is autologous stem cell program, because if it comes back the first year, they say it will come back the first year, and then it's going to be very hard for us to treat you. And of course, you're scared into it. Here you're feeling good, you're recovering and so forth. And you feel really good about your program and the direction you're going. And then you say, yes, okay, I will do that. And that is people don't understand that is a very hard and rigorous program with all the medication that they give you to prepare you for this. And they
Mm.
extract stem cells from you and they bank it. And then they put you in the hospital and give you a lot of drugs to promote more white blood cells in your body. And they give you anti-seizure medication. It is a whole program.
Wow.
And then they give you 5 days of chemotherapy, which they bring you to the brink of death with 5 days straight of chemotherapy. And then they put the stem cells back in your stem cells back into your body to help you recover.
Wow.
Now, they didn't do a bone marrow transplant. This is using your own stem cells. Looking back, I think, why would they want to use my own stem cells? Thinking that I might still have some cancer
Mm.
cell activity in my
Some
body.
marker in there. Mm-hmm.
But that said, while I was in the hospital, and they check your blood every day, they check and see where you're at. They found that myself and about, I don't know, was 3 other people on the floor were infected with hepatitis B.
Oh no.
So my liver enzymes shot up to the highest number they've ever seen, which normally can be anywhere between 35 to 45 on a healthy person.
Okay.
Mine shot up to 2,500. So my
Holy
liver was
cow.
getting ready to shut down. So they
Ugh.
took me off the program and I started on a medication. I was the first one to get on this medication. And of course, I just wanted to go home and get back on my program, my juicing, my protein shakes, my supplements, my food, and my meditation and everything that, my whole program. And I did. I went back home and I completely recovered from that. And that
Wow.
was 16 years
Okay.
ago.
So
So,
probably a 2-year process from your diagnosis to
yes,
going through all of that for 2 years.
yes, just the
Wow.
whole process
Uh-huh.
that was involved the first year and so on and so forth. So, yes, I had my what they call cancerversary memorial this last May as 18 years. So I'm figuring, about 16 and a half years ago, I was there in that
Yeah,
place,
in the
time,
thick of it.
in the thick of it.
Mm.
And after that, I decided that I'm going to continue my journey as I feel necessary for me, for my body and my experience. And my mother, I did have a relapse. My mother was killed in an automobile accident here in
Oh,
Greece.
wow.
So I I heard about it on Friday. I flew Saturday morning. I was here Sunday morning, and it was a pretty traumatic experience to go
Mm-hmm.
through. And a few months after that, I'd say about 4 or 5 months after that, my regular checkup with a PET scan, they found that there was cancer cell activity in several lymph nodes around my heart.
Mm.
So they took some of the lymph nodes out and gave me another series of just 4 chemotherapy treatments. And since then, I've been cancer free.
Mm. Good.
So keeping your stress level down, of course, for people is very important. And in the last, I'd say 5 years after I came out with my book, Dancing Skeleton, A Journey Through Stage 4 Cancer, people would reach out to me. People were reaching out to me for help. And I started mentoring different people and helping them, holding their hands and so forth, giving them support. And I worked for a couple of wellness centers, a wellness, health and wellness centers as their cancer support coach. And then I became certified. I wanted to become certified as a cancer coach, a cancer health coach through the American Cancer Education Institute.
Okay.
And this is pretty much where I am now, helping people
Mm.
in their diet, their nutrition, the supplements. There's resources for meditation, visualization workshops, anything that they need. There's, brain balance, Sarah set for people that have a lot of fear and a lot of anxiety. There's a lot to process once you're diagnosed with cancer. It doesn't matter if it's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. Someone in the medical establishment says you have cancer.
The C word. People hear that and just it can be devastating for some people to hear that word.
It
For
is
anybody.
very, it is. So I help people
Mm.
if they reach out to me, if they're open to talking to me, then I help them. If I don't have the resources, if I don't, I have resources. If I can help them on something, I have the resources for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I work very closely with a nonprofit called Cancer Kinship.
Mm-hmm.
This young woman is absolutely amazing. She recovered from the BRCA gene, which is passed down
Mm.
from her mother. Her aunt had it, her mother had it, her sister had it. They all passed away from this type of breast cancer. She recovered
Mm.
and she established and organized a nonprofit called Cancer Kinship, which it is a kinship. It's a mentoring program. kind of what I'm doing with people, only with her, it's on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
If someone reaches out to her and they don't have health insurance, or they don't, let's just say a young woman with children and she has breast cancer and her husband has left her or anything, and she doesn't have money for childcare, she doesn't have money to pay her bills, cancer kinship can help her financially.
Wow.
And she's also established free wigs, a wig salon, free wigs for cancer patients that are going through treatment.
Wow.
So she's a wonderful, wonderful young woman that I just think, so highly of. And I help her as much as I can. We do fundraisers. I promote and, put fundraisers together and help. It's a very difficult thing for any nonprofit to get grants or get sponsorships or whatever. It's a difficult process. In order to keep it going, as she should keep it going, money has to come from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Has to come from somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can understand that because, being an entrepreneur and you have a mission, and her mission is obvious, but when you're doing the things that are supporting your mission, you also have to do all the marketing and all of the, the stuff to back it up, the things that bring in the money, the fundraising. And that's a different skill set than what you have from your heart when you're serving people. So I can imagine how difficult it is to be in her shoes and in your shoes. And it's wonderful that you're working together and that you're, supporting each other and supporting women. It feels very much like you provide hope for people. And that's wonderful.
I think the reality is cancer's on the rise. That's the reality. In Orange County, where I live, alone is the highest rate of breast cancer per capita. And cancer is on the
Really?
rise for prostate cancer. And the Beckman Institute, which is a research institute for City of Hope, they're actually doing some research on food and like pomegranate seeds for prostate cancer and blueberry extracts for breast cancer with very favorable results. And I think more institutes and more research institutes out there should do more on the power of
Mm-hmm.
food, the right kind of food.
And it feels very much like the focus, what you hear about is treating someone who is ill versus keeping people healthy. The whole system is set up to, insurance and drugs and hospitals. The money goes to helping someone get healthy, but it's not, I feel like in my opinion, I feel like we need to spend more time, more money, more effort on staying well and being healthy, staying out of the hospital, staying out of the need
Yes,
for drugs and treatment and that sort of thing. But so what you're doing, you're teaching also people about staying healthy too, aren't you, Joanna? You have like through juices and through natural foods and wellness.
yes, yes. Because that's, once you have cancer and you're in remission, people think, okay, the doctors tell you, okay, go home and you don't have to think about anything else. No. Once you have cancer cell activity in your body, it can come back.
Mm,
It can come back. No, you have to be even more diligent about it than before.
mm-hmm.
And you can't be complacent. People can't be complacent. You know, I'll do what I want, I'll eat what I want because I live for the moment.
Mm.
Well, that's all fine, but think of your
How about
future.
having some more move? Yeah, yeah. Live for
Yeah,
the moment, but let's make more of them.
yeah, in the
Let's.
future, in the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people love you. Let's keep you here as much as we
Yeah,
can.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, golly. Yeah. Okay, can I shift gears completely?
Yes.
One of the things I ask my guests is, what's your favorite kind of wine or your favorite cocktail? Do you have a favorite?
I try to stay away from hard alcohol.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I used to love margaritas.
Yes. Yeah,
But
I'm a fan.
I do like and I think a nice red wine. And usually I don't name them, but usually as in is my favorite.
Okay.
I don't like really dry wines. You know, I just have to tell you a little funny wine story, just real quick. Here locally, there's a wine shop, and I went in there and I bought a bottle of wine that was different from ours that we make, that is made by the monks. There is a
Oh,
monastic community here close to us called Montathos, and they make wine. So I thought, I'm going to try their wine. I'm going to see how different it is from ours, whatever. So I brought it home, and I thought, wow, it's very, very sweet. It's a red wine, but it's super, super sweet.
mm,
So my brother came over and I gave him a little glass of wine and some little things to eat, some what we call appetizers or mesetas here. And he said, boy, this wine is sweet. And let me look at the bottle. And I showed him the bottle. He goes, this is the wine we give at communion. This
I
is the
wondered.
communion wine.
And also with you. Yeah.
Okay, I'm, I have been blessed for sure after drinking a glass of this wine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's palatable for the whole congregation.
So yeah, so if I'm splurging out there, sometimes when we go out to dinner back home, I'll have a margarita, but normally the red wine with the meal
Yeah,
is my go-to.
nice. So nice big jammy Zinfandel probably, right? That your
Yeah,
style? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and you're in LA, you're Orange County. Aren't How far are you from Temecula? Are you quite a
Not
ways
that
yet?
far, probably about an hour drive,
Okay.
about an
Yeah,
hour
they have
drive.
some nice Zinfandels
They
there.
do. They do.
Uh-huh.
And I've been to the wine country up in say Paso Robles and around there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
so yeah, they have good wine. They have good wine.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Absolutely. And your wine from your family, is it available in the States anywhere? Do you guys ship?
No, we don't ship because we don't use sulfites.
Oh, right. You wouldn't
And
be able
you
to,
can't move the wine. It has to be
it wouldn't
stationary.
be long. Yeah.
Right. And this is a kind of wine that you have a glass of our wine, you sleep really good, and there are no hangovers.
Really?
Where some red wines that I drink at home, I have to be careful that they do give me a headache.
Yeah.
But so you try to get good wine or wine that you like that treats you well as well,
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, for me, I
treats
feel
you with
it's
respect.
yes, respects me back. Um, I I really appreciate wines that are red wines, especially that are in the, like 13% alcohol, which is harder and harder to find all the time. A lot of them are really inching up towards 15 and even 16%. And that's for me, that's when I notice it the next day. It's very
Sure.
too high
Hmm.
octane.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you need a little bit of a lot more actually of water to keep you hydrated between
Yes,
glasses.
that's
Yes.
right.
Oh my gosh. Well, I would love to come visit and taste your wine. But Greek work, we have a Greek a Mediterranean cruise coming
Oh,
up next fall.
wine cruise.
Well, just a Mediterranean cruise,
Okay.
but it's with wine friends, so I'm sure we'll be
Yeah.
seeking out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going?
It's yes.
Okay.
We have put our deposit in, and now we're, working towards it. But yeah, I know. I'm so
What time of
excited.
year?
It's August.
Okay.
Yeah. Late
It's
August.
it's late August could be a little better. July is the hottest month and into the
Yeah.
first part of this. And this year it has been very, very warm.
It's been very the extremes. It feels like it's been, super hot in a lot of different regions. Some girlfriends and I were in Milan this summer in July, and one of them described it as hotter than the hubs of hell.
Yes, they had a very hot summer.
It was very hot. Yeah. Yeah. We drank a lot of Prosecco,
Yeah.
a lot of Aperol Spritz.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It was wonderful. And the experience with girlfriends, is
Yeah.
always a
Great.
wonderful thing to talk about and look back on. And yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking about it for several years.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I have not asked you that you want to share with everyone?
Um, I'm coming out with a new book. It's in
Nice.
process
Uh-huh.
and it's Kill Cancer's Ass cookbook.
I love it.
So it's all based on more of a Mediterranean cuisine or
Mm,
Mediterranean diet,
mhm,
which is also very healthy in regards to people who want not only want to get healthy, but who are struggling with cancer, what to eat, what not to eat. And I've accumulated a lot of different recipes that through my transition have
mhm,
collected and then grabbed a few from family members like my mother and my sister and some Greek recipes that I want to put
mhm,
into the book. They're, healthy, really healthy, but really good recipes. Because at home, when I cook them and I've had an event or a fundraiser or anything, everybody says, I want that recipe. I want that recipe. I want
mm.
this recipe. And I went,
There's your sign.
okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I'm excited
So,
for that. I'm my doctor suggests the Mediterranean diet for me too. And it's when I feel the best is when I'm eating a lot of fish, a lot of vegetables, and I feel like any Greek food that I've had has been very flavorful. And
yeah.
just yeah, the very colors, very colorful.
Hmm.
The colors of the
And
rainbow.
the produce here is just so much better because the guy comes out in front with a truck, and
Yeah,
everything is vine
yeah.
ripe, picked
Picked that day,
that
probably.
day or whatever. And it
Uh-huh.
just tastes better. It's different and tastes so much better,
Mm-hmm.
than the food that we get in the market. So I'm always searching at home for different farmers markets. And I
Mm-hmm.
also grow a lot of my own seasonal. They're all seasonal,
Yep.
but I have that famous tower garden. I have two of them, and I can grow a lot of my own produce. So that helps
Nice.
in getting some really good food. It's seasonal, but that's fine. Good.
Yeah. Tau I think that would be a good thing to look at for us in Florida too, because in Iowa, we go back and forth between Iowa and Florida. And in Iowa, we have a pretty big garden and, the fresh
Oh,
tomatoes and herbs and peppers and onions and
wow.
garlic. Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. And we so miss it when we're in Florida because, well, we do have access to good produce there, but we didn't grow it. We love to
Yeah,
grow our
sure.
own stuff.
Oh my God,
Um,
that's fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, because I need to look into that. It's called a tower garden, right?
Yeah, it's a tower garden. It's aeroponics, so it's just
Mm,
works on it's a recycling tower that recycles water and nutrients through the tower, and you have all these different pods that you put your plants in, And you get 20, 25, 29, depending on how big your tower is. And it just serves itself, meaning that it just circulates everything, and you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to water it or stand over it and water it or know what nutrients to put in your soil or anything like that. It's all there for you. And it just grows. Everything grows so much faster and tastier
What a great
because
idea.
they're getting the right nutrients.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't take up that much space.
It doesn't. No, it
Yeah.
doesn't.
Very nice. Awesome.
Easy.
Yeah, I like easy and fresh and
Easy.
good. Wonderful. Well, Joanna, this has been so fun. I appreciate your time and taking you away from happy hour. And
Oh, it's
your
all good
family.
here. It's all good. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
That sounds good. Very good. Awesome. Enjoy the rest of your time in Greece.
Thank you, Penny. I appreciate it. And let's chat again for sure.
Oh,
Connect.
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you, Joanna.
Thank you. Take care.
You
Bye.
too. Bye. That's a wrap on another spirited episode of Penny for Your Shots, Conversations and Cocktails with Brilliant Women. I hope you've enjoyed the intoxicating blend of wisdom, wit, and wonder that these incredible women bring to the table. Check out the show notes for links to resources referenced in today's episode. And remember to subscribe and raise a glass with me every Thirsty Thursday as we continue to serve up inspiration, celebrate resilience, and reignite the passions that set our souls on fire. If you've loved what you've heard, please share the podcast far and wide and leave a sparkling 5-star review to let me know your thoughts. It would also help tremendously if you would visit pennyforyourshots.com and subscribe to learn when new episodes are available and pick up my free recipe. In the meantime, remember that your story deserves to be served and savored. Cheers to your brilliance and of women everywhere. Until next time, keep sipping and experiencing life's extraordinary moments. This is Penny for Your Shots, signing off with a clink and a toast to us. Cheers.